Hi everyone, can you hear me? I'm typing this comment, so please excuse. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I never know if these little earpods work, so let me know. Great, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for letting me know we are live. Gonna get started here in a sec, so... Boom. Okay, let me see if rain is here. As some of you may know, I am kind of new to Instagram Live, but here we go. Rain, do I have you? Hi. I'm good.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
It's
Really
good to
nice
see
day
you.
outside, some good light, so happy about that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, sunny Los Angeles day. Um,
Indeed.
I'm gonna raise my camera for a little bit.
Yeah, no worries.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to be honest, I'm always a little nervous about talking about the subject of love, since that's what we're talking about today. But I think that this is a
Yeah.
pretty neat thing that Absolute has put together. For all of you who don't know, Absolute is doing this campaign over the month of February called Love Responsibly, including 3 Instagram Live conversations, this being the last in the series, where 2 people get to talk in front of an audience and take your questions about all of the ways we can love responsibly, especially this year's been a little different, so I think it's required some adjustments in terms of how we interact with our friends and family and pets and other loved ones. So, yeah, I am a
Yeah.
little nervous talking about this stuff, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm nervous too. So we can be nervous together. I think it's a very vulnerable place to be
Yeah.
talking about love. It's such a sensitive issue and it's different for everyone. And so it's we're definitely in a vulnerable space,
Hmm.
but I'm excited at the same time to have this conversation with you.
Me too. So I think that how this is going to work is I'll ask you a few questions and then you'll ask me some. But for a little bit of context, can I ask you, are you single? Like what is the state of love in your life right now?
Very good question. I am single. I've been single for quite some time, but this past few months, I decided to finally put myself out there, and so I actually been going on dates in the last month or so. So it's very, very new. So and I'm learning through that experience of what requires me to be present, and to be in a space where I'm sort of exuding love. So yeah, I'm currently single, but definitely putting myself out there, which has been kind of frightening because dating during this time is, it's different. It's changed so much.
Hmm.
What about you? Are you single in a relationship?
I am single and I find myself much in the same boat of I for a while it didn't feel appropriate or entirely comfortable for me to be putting myself out there. And I've sort of started doing that now. And yeah, it's interesting. Like there's a little bit of new things to sort of negotiate with self, in regards to like putting yourself out there again, especially when it doesn't seem as easy or free or as I don't know, as it used to feel. It just feels different now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's been a good thing too. Like in that time, in this time, I've certainly learned ways to take care of myself and more about self-love and the love that I have for my family and my friends and a little puppy I have who's snoozing over there. Thank
So
goodness.
cute, by the way,
So
Homer.
cute. Thank you,
So
Homer.
cute.
Yeah. And I should say that for all of you who maybe, came to this from different places, I'm Charlie Carver. I'm an actor. Sometimes I like to wear other hats. And then Rain, I don't know if you want to say anything about yourself and introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Rain Valdez. I'm also an actor. I'm a filmmaker. I consider myself a creator. I write a lot of my own content. I produce it, and I star in them too. So yeah, other than that, I'm also a mother of two dogs. They're a lot older. My older one is 11 now, but I've had him since he was a baby. And then my little one Hudson, he's 7 years old. So that's how I identify. A mother of pups and a filmmaker.
Awesome. Well, do you mind if I start asking you some questions?
Not at all. Let's
All
go for
right.
it.
So, what does love responsibly mean to you if you had to sum it up?
I always forget that if you had to sum it up part. It's so hard to do that. If I had to sum it up, I think being in a position to hold space for yourself and for someone, and allowing that person to be vulnerable, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to heal and to grow. I think if I had to sum it up, it would have to be the ability to hold space for yourself
Hmm,
or for someone.
hmm,
But I'm finding that in order for me to do that personally, I have to allow myself time to be in discovery and rediscovery. I think with the nature of our jobs, like being an actor, we're always like on to the next thing.
hmm.
And I think it's for me, I realize it's created this cycle and this pattern. Um, and it's become kind of repetitive where when I find myself in discovery or rediscovery, I start to ask more questions. I start to ask, are you good? Like, just checking in with myself. Like, what did you learn from that last job or that last relationship?
Hmm.
Because I do truly believe that we're different each day. Like, I feel like I'm different today than I was yesterday. And so um, I think that also with the nature of our jobs, with the cycle, we're always in recovery, right? Like, and sometimes recovery is like a weekend, sometimes not even that, and then we get on to the next thing, and we forget to create space for discovery and rediscovery. And when I started doing that for myself, that's when I started asking really, really hard questions and learning from that past experience that I just came out of, like learning from that last job or learning from, that last encounter or that last relationship, and allowing myself to really reflect and hold space for myself, to be vulnerable and to learn and to grow. And when I do that, it kind of makes it easier for me to show up for other people and
Hmm.
hold space for them
Hmm.
and allow them to be vulnerable and and basically grow too.
Well, I relate to what you said about being an actor and to kind of put it into my own words, this feeling of life sort of moving from chapter to chapter, and in that way, because life does feel sort of framed by work or framed by experiences or being out of town or what have you. Part of the sort of, I don't know if it's the challenge, but something that doesn't quite isn't quite symmetric about love and relationships is those relationships. We want them to be constant. We want them to be regular when so much of our lives are not. And how do you kind of stay in relationship, whether that's with a loved one or a friend or a family member, and but kind of hold space to update, because I learn so much from every time I work or every experience I have, sort of largely on my own. And how do I bring that back into a relationship and allow the relationship to sort of uh, update to me? That sounds narcissistic, but just sort of update to how things change, how things have
Mhm.
changed and how we grow. I don't know if that that makes sense. But I feel you on the career
Yeah,
relationship bit.
that totally makes sense. It's almost like you kind of have to let go of a lot of expectations and a lot of ideas,
Hmm.
um, in order to continuously be present,
Hmm.
um, and continuously be in a space, um, to to hold and to be of service. Because I think loving is, it's a selfless act. It's being of service to yourself and to others. But because we're constantly changing and evolving, we also have to think of ways to evolve and change and kind of redirect how we're of service to ourselves and to one another.
Hmm.
So question for you,
Yeah.
how do you show up in the different types of relationships in your life, like the different kinds of love in your life, like your friends, your loved ones, or even with Homer, like how do you decipher like those differences?
I mean, Homer's probably been just because it's sort of in the foreground right now, the most instructive and really great. Oop, thought I turned off the notifications, but teacher about love for me lately, in that it is something that I show up for every day, multiple times a day, and that is, as you were talking about, like that is a form of service. That is love is kind of a verb, and sorry, having some tech difficulties here. I that seems as challenging as it can be. Sometimes you don't want to get up and walk a dog first thing in the morning. Like
Mhm.
it makes the most sense. It's like a very simple but gratifying kind of love. And then for family, as I've gotten older, I think it's about making time to spend time one on one with my family members. I think so often with family, we rely upon holidays. We rely maybe on a family vacation every once in a while as a sort of setting in which to like spend time with them. But it just goes so far, even if it's a phone call or a FaceTime these days.
Mhm.
I'm finding that making that effort to address and hang out with a family member one on one, like it is
Yeah.
so much more rewarding, and you start to, I don't know, the family member begins to kind of transform into someone who you see as a whole person, as opposed to the role that they've played in your life, whether that's an older sibling or a twin or a mother or
Right.
father, and that's pretty great. Relationships, I don't know. I think I've been on a break from them, so it will be good if and when the next one happens to
Yeah.
kind of come at it differently. But I think the way I like to show up, I it sort of stands in contrast to being on the road or work, kind of feeling like it's in flux. I like to show up. I like to cook for people. I guess it's sort of like
Mm.
acts of service. I like gifts. Um, I don't want to talk about love languages because I think it's so weird when people do it, but I'm doing it. I can feel myself doing it. Yeah, I like to. I think I like to affirm someone,
Mm.
even if affirm them, and if they're feeling bad, like let them feel heard and seen, but also to kind of, I don't know, offer a little bit of magic in some way to make who I'm with feel better. And I haven't been perfect, and if there's anybody watching who I dated, yada yada yada, I'm sorry. But yeah, I like to kind of offer a little bit of surprise in one way or another, as regularly as possible.
I love
Does that
that, and
make
it
sense?
keeps the relationship interesting when
Yeah.
you're finding ways to surprise one another or be of service in different ways.
All right, my turn.
Okay.
Have you ever faced challenges in relationships that have made you look at love differently or changed your outlook on love?
Oh God, yes, yes. Well, living in today's society as like a trans queer identifying person, I'm constantly being told or being reminded of what the world thinks of me, or what people think of me and how they should think of me. And so I kind of have to work a little harder, I think, to have love within myself. I champion self-love a lot because as someone who's constantly being othered and oppressed by our government and whatnot, it's really hard. It's really hard to find joy in humanity, I think.
Mm.
And it's very challenging when I find myself in a situation and immediately I get some sort of rejection or some sort of like pushback because of my identity of being trans. I think in some cases, someone is very quick to, oh, you're great, you're gorgeous, and you're awesome, but I don't know if I could introduce you to my family, or I don't know, because they have these preconceived ideas and notions of what their family or their friends are going to think of them if they're in a relationship with someone like me. And so that's tough because I'm very proud, and I've learned to take ownership of all of the complications of my identity. And I want to be with someone who can just be as proud with all of those complications of their identity,
Mm-hmm.
being attracted and being in love with someone like me, and allowing them to be okay with that. And so it's tough because with human love, because we're talking about our dogs too, with human love, um, it was very heartbreaking to find out that it can be conditional. Um, and what I love about my relationship with my dogs is that it's completely unconditional. It's just, you know, um, just like a wealth of love with my boys, and I am so grateful that I get to have that in my life, because today's world and in today's society, it's hard to find that in a human partner, I think. Um, because I want to meet someone, I want to be with someone who's at the same level as I am in terms of knowing what the struggles marginalized people face,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing, the hard work we have to do in recognizing some of our privileges, and um, and also doing the work to heal each other, and not be so attached to what our ancestors did,
Mm.
because I think that's, they did that, that's in the past. Let's have that information, let's know it, and then now let's figure out how to, as a generation, take what we know from our ancestors and bring forth healing. And um, yeah, it gets challenging when you're in, when someone like me is putting themselves out there and trying to date, because we're constantly being bombarded with archaic beliefs and
Mm.
and ideas of who trans people are, and whether we deserve to be loved or not. And I know that we do, and I have so many friends in my community who are amazing, and they're like the funniest people in the world, and they're the most talented people in the world. And I'm like, yes, you deserve love, and I deserve
Mm-hmm.
love. And so we know that about each other. But I think there's there's just sort of like um, this belief system that I think that we're struggling with, that we're trying to break down and fight. And so in that regard, there are challenges with relationships. And I think it gets better over time, but it's hard for me to continually to put myself out there and be vulnerable, because I I've learned from the past thing, and I don't always want to be someone's teacher. Like I want to
Mm.
be a partner. Like I want to be, I want to be friends. I want to do things together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to grow together. I want to learn together. I want to travel together, or whatever. But not always be the one to teach, but be in a place where I could just completely be myself regardless of the complications of my identity,
Hmm.
because I'm not the one thing. But I think in this world and in today's society, being trans is the most interesting thing about me,
Mm.
um, to the world. But to me, it actually isn't. And so that's what I constantly fight with.
Mm. I like, I can only imagine. And thank you for sharing all of that so openly and articulately and beautifully. And something you said reminds me of like one of my favorite quotes that I'm going to butcher, but it's, I guess, from an ancestor. It's Oscar Wilde who says, "There's no point of looking at a map if utopia is not on it." And I hope that our generation can kind of deprogram some of the beliefs and horrible things of our ancestors and keep in mind that, a better world could exist and that we have to kind of create it together. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love
so
that. I
I
love that
empathize
quote.
with what you said. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Going.
Um, okay, well, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
What is something you think everyone can do to love responsibly? Hashtag love responsibly.
What is something I think people can do to hashtag love responsibly? I think creating some kind of practice for yourself, with and for yourself. Self-love is a big thing,
Yeah.
and for others. Whether that's a practice in a week, for example, of making a point to reach out to three people, text or call right now, either by the day or by the week. I have a practice. I try and meditate in the morning. I have a sense of a routine so that when I wake up, like I always make my bed. And those things sound so small, but you're sort of setting the table for a better day and therefore like are more, I find myself more capable to receive uh, the present moment. And I think when you are kind of receptive like that, your capacity for even something as large and confusing as love is there. So I'd say,
Mhm.
yeah. What is something I think we can do to love responsibly? I'd say create habits in each sort of arena around, self-love and having a practice for yourself on a daily basis, a weekly practice on reaching out to those you love, and maybe like when it comes to looking for love, having some again a kind of practice about how to talk to yourself about where you're
Yeah.
at, whether you've just met someone, and you need to kind of pump the brakes in your head because when you meet someone, sometimes so much can start happening and it can feel uh, overwhelming or just like this chatter that won't go away. Like, what are the sort of loving things you can do for yourself and to that person in terms of giving them space,
Hmm.
treating people with manners? I mean, gosh, in the few instances that I have like talked to somebody in DMs or something like that, I've been ghosted a few times. I know we all have. You go like, okay, I get that it's challenging right now, but let's bring manners back to the table,
I can't imagine anybody ghosting you. Like
all
that's
the time.
crazy.
I
Crazy
think it's
talk.
because I have zero text game, but I promise I'm fun in person. So yeah. All right. So how do you practice loving yourself and others?
Definitely taking a deep breath
Hmm.
and knowing that when I am getting myself into a day or a commitment of holding space for someone, that I have to remember to create some buffer time to create space for myself
Hmm.
so that when I show up, like I'm there, like I'm there, like what can I do to be of service to you? Like what can Rain do for Charlie?
Hmm.
Like how can I help you? How can I love you? How can I be here for you? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? How do you want to heal? How do you want to grow? And just, you know, kind of surrendering, I
Hmm.
think, in a way, surrendering when it comes to self love, like surrendering to myself, like surrendering to my needs, like knowing that if an hour nap isn't enough, then take 2 hours of
Go
nap.
back to bed.
Go back
Yeah.
to bed. Like if you need that, do it, and same thing with someone, just surrendering um, to to the phone call or to the text, and just letting them know that you're here for them. Um, we all need each other right now, but we're also, I think, very afraid to reach out or commit because we're all going through something right now too.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's creating this blockage of being able to be connected, even though I
Hmm.
think that we still can be connected regardless of social distancing and all that stuff. I truly believe we can still be connected, but I
Hmm.
think there's fears being associated, um, to reaching out to someone because they don't know if they can, if they can be there for them.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you have to listen to that. I think you have to listen to what that is and why do you feel that way. And a lot of it is, oh, because you need love in your life, you need to be there for yourself, or you need to reach out and say, I need you right now. Um, and surrendering to that and allowing
Hmm.
yourself to be vulnerable, I think, um, it is responsible, is taking care of yourself and making yourself the priority, because it's kind of like when you're on an airplane, right? They tell you to put your mask on first before you put
Mm.
the mask on somebody else. So it's kind of like that sort of idea where, like, prioritize you um, so that you can show up and you can be there.
Yeah. And to what you were saying too, that stoicism isn't necessarily strength, Like there's nothing weak or needy about knowing that you need to reach out.
Yeah,
When after you have taken care of yourself and going like, okay, then the next step is like I do need to reach out and I do need a little bit of love and I'm gonna ask for it.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so this will be funny because I'm gonna try and take some of your questions for anybody who's watching and bring them in, but I'm kind of technologically inept sometimes. So if you have any questions on the subject, I will be scanning through and adding them in, and we'll do our best to answer them. Um,
I'll scan through too.
please, please do. Uh, oh man, I
Wow,
guess
there's a lot of
there's so many.
comments.
Yeah,
Everyone loves you. So
oh,
much
that's
love.
sweet, and so much respect for you.
Oh,
Okay, I don't know if I'm. Here's a great one. Do you mind if I add it in?
go for it.
Um, it's just sort of a fun one. Do you believe in soulmates?
Mm, I love that question. You
Yeah.
know, that's so funny. Thank you for asking that. I didn't for a very long time, but I do now.
Hmm.
I have a best friend who he's been in my life for almost 10 years. And when I first met him, I was like, you're going to be in my life. And, I would always bring him onto projects. I would always invite him to, like, my birthdays and everything. And he's just been in my life for over 10 years. And he's been on this spiritual growth path, and he's been traveling, and he's come back and he's like a completely different person, but then he's still showing up for me and he's still letting me shine. And he's become, in a way, a teacher, and I'm learning more about my duality, learning more about, you know, um, my purpose here, besides that's not so attached to my career, right? And so I don't know. I feel him so much more deeply than I've ever felt anyone. He's someone that I consider a soulmate for sure. So yeah, I didn't believe in it before, but I do now because of this experience that we had this past week of like really connecting on a spiritual level and really seeing each other for all of our flaws and all of our history and and all of our just humanness and since then like we check in on each other and there's this weird soul connecting thing that I'm just like pulled towards him now,
Hmm.
and which is an interesting feeling.
Well, I love too that I think the sort of the scripts we receive, the stories we receive about love, um, it's a nice reminder that a soulmate doesn't necessarily have to be like a romantic partner, or
Yeah.
that even that kind of energy can fluctuate in and out of one's life. Like I don't know if I believe in one soulmate either, but there are certainly soulmates that I have in the world. And I mean, it is kind of magical when you think about how you have collected with and found friends or found people who are incredibly close to you who are sort of soulmates. Like we live in a world of billions in a country of millions, and it gets sort of sorted through where we live into certain communities and things, on some level, but yet in all of that you end up finding these people who just truly understand you and who you feel this sort of physical soul connection to. And I think that it's just a nice reminder that that doesn't always have to be like that partner that you're looking for, because I feel like that can be sort of a damaging script to compare yourself to all the time. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And it kind of sets you up in this mind frame where it almost blinds you from finding a soulmate because you're so
Mm,
attached to this idea that it's a partner. And
hmm.
so in a way you're kind of blinding yourself when you think that way. And so I try to free myself from that because I've been in relationships where I thought that was it. I thought this is my soulmate, this is my partnership. But then we broke up and it ended, and I realized, oh, that wasn't that kind of soulmate connection that I thought that would feel like. Um, but I was attached to this idea, and once I
Mm.
let go of that, I started seeing that love comes in so many different ways and so many
Yeah.
different forms.
And that's something, ending isn't necessarily a failure either. I think that soulmate script is always sort of like, oh, well, it didn't end, so you weren't soulmates. We're like, well, we were at that time, you know. It doesn't, I don't know, that just because something ends, it's not a failure, necessarily in terms of the story of a relationship. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna add one more question in here, and please, if you find one before me, add it in.
I thought this would be easier to find, but
You push the question button. Oh yeah, now I see what you mean. There are like so many. Um, hmm.
I don't think it's working for me. Or they might
Okay.
just be going to you.
Oh, but maybe that's the case because I'm hosting. So I will find one. Do you believe you can only love someone else after you've learned to love yourself? I like the subtle drag race reference. Um, huh. I think that love for others deepens when you love yourself, um, because part of loving oneself, I think, on some level, is being willing to get in touch with some of those parts of self that we uh, try and push away or keep hidden or deny as a part of our own humanity. And when you can kind of learn to love those parts of yourself, your compassion for others, and particularly for like a loved one, I think that capacity increases. So, I think love develops and evolves with the person who's choosing to be a conduit for it. So, yeah, on some level, I would say that I do believe you, I would say, I do believe you really learn to someone else after you've learned to love yourself. But both are, I think both are constantly changing and are a process and a practice. So, what about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's much more, loving someone is much more fulfilling when
Hmm.
you're completely, I guess, in love with yourself, or at least know how to love yourself. I think it makes it for a healthier relationship when you go into a partnership knowing that there's already a lot of love within you because you've done that work. I admire, couples who are in couple therapy, or,
Mm,
a person who's in therapy and working on themselves so that when they get into a partnership, they've done some of the work. Because I think we have this sort of, satiable need of like, please love me, please love me. And you get into, a situation, and sometimes where we expect that person to do a lot of the loving or a lot of the work. And I think that's where most relationships fail, is when you think that being in a relationship is what's going to fix you, or improve you, where that's something you could do for yourself.
hmm.
Um, and then, when you're together, it's just about supporting each other and showing up for each other, and having fun and
Yeah, having fun. Like,
having fun.
when you talk about love and you think, when I talk about love and when I think about love, like sometimes it's sort of this serious thing because it is, there is something sort of sacred about it.
Yeah,
But it's about having fun. And I think it's also about like not expecting somebody to read your mind. We all,
exactly.
it's about
Yeah,
communication. And I think that that is part of that self-love, is going like, oh, I have to be vulnerable. I have to take the risk to tell somebody what I'm thinking, as opposed to expecting them to sort of know. And
yeah,
yeah, something you share and create and uphold together. Ah, well, I'm sitting here and
yeah.
like,
I think it should be easy in some capacity. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but it should feel organic, and it should feel easy and fun.
yeah, yeah, and authentic, and
Otherwise,
like
why would we love if it's not?
I would want to feel absolutely myself, you
Yeah,
know. So I think we're kind of wrapping up here. This is just for everyone who's watching. It's the last Instagram Live in the Love Responsibly series. Hashtag Love Responsibly. If you want to participate, the conversations are on the Absolute page. They're really incredible. 3 series of them. And if you want to participate and share how you love responsibly, you can go to the www.absolute.com/love responsibly website for more information on this program. And yeah, my thanks to Absolute for bringing us together, and for, I don't
yeah,
know, getting creative and wanting to sort of hold space and support these kinds of conversations. So thank you. Thank you, thank you,
yeah.
thank you for sharing with me.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
yeah,
And thank you, Absolute, and the powers beyond us that brought us together. This was amazing. This was so
yeah.
fun.
And truly, if there's any way that I can support you in your journey, or if you ever just want to support me in mine, I'm here. So
I would love to support you in your journey.
thank
I
you.
think
I would love to
I
support you.
think I don't think that this is the last time we'll be in touch with one another. I think this is just the beginning.
I have no doubt about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
awesome.
All right.
Well, happy Friday.
Thanks, Charlie.
TGIF, everyone. Take
Happy
care.
Friday. Thank you all so much for coming and joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.